It is white's turn. White attaches here. Black takes the solid retreat. White then crawls. What should black do now? Black must extend to stop white from haning at the two-stone head. If white crawls along the third line, black simply keeps extending. Black is not afraid. In a real game, white would probably jump out instead. Third line crawling in exchange for black's fourth line extension is not worthwhile. If black tanukis instead of extending, white can hane here. That hane is against black's two-stone head. Even without a white stone on the right, this hane is uncomfortable for black. Later, white can make a tiger's mouth. It is sente, so black cannot hane easily. White can then double hane. Locally, after making the tiger's mouth, white can give a double atari. This hane up ahead is very severe. Black must play here because this is a true two-stone head. Black must not hane downward here. White cuts immediately. This also looks like a two-stone head, but white's shape is fine. The nearby supporting stone lets white make a tiger's mouth. If white extends, black must protect the cut. Otherwise, white makes a tiger's mouth. After black protects, white jumps out. If black cuts, black must reinforce again, which makes a 4 shape. Black does not need to hane here. It is the same idea as the 3-3 shape, never hane downward. If black hanes, white cuts, and black gets into trouble. If black runs, white cuts first and then extends. So do not hane carelessly. You may hane at a true two-stone head, but this is not that shape, because white has a supporting stone. When white cuts, black is the one left with a two-stone head.